What's up, everyone? Good Friday evening, and welcome to Weather for Weather Geeks. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I know I certainly did, and back at it today. Plenty to talk about as we head into the weekend with some busy weather, but no impactful snow coming our way anytime real soon as we transition into December. I see no signs of a very wintry-looking pattern anytime real soon, but we're about to close the book on November. It's going to finish about 5 degrees colder than average. It really sticks out when you look at the rest of the year. Only 2 months colder than average this year. March was the other one, but this one colder than average by a much bigger margin than March was. Every other month, of course, has been warmer than the average, although January was very, very close to the average. We had a pretty textbook January before rather mild February last winter, and certainly a wintry day out there today. Just a thick blanket of clouds and uneventful weather, kind of like we had on Thanksgiving. Temperatures hardly moved today. We stayed in the 30s. 43 and 30 is our average. Records 66 and 5. Those records, at this time of the year, in the transitional seasons, we can see big spreads in our records. Today's one of those days where there's a 61-degree difference between the record low and record high. This is our next weather maker out across the middle of the country with impactful snow across the higher terrain of the Rockies and spreading up into the Midwest. This is, of course, on the warm side. We have showers breaking out, and this is what's coming our way in about 24 hours. Another pretty ho-hum Saturday coming up for tomorrow, much like, much like the last couple of days. It may look like it wants to rain. It's kind of a hard time, a lot of dry air down near the lower levels of the atmosphere, so while it may look a little ominous, the rain's going to try to hold off to our south and west throughout the daylight hours on Saturday. After sunset, shower chances start to ramp up a bit. Our model here at the onset suggests there could be a little mixed precipitation. I'm not really buying that too much at this point. Can't rule out maybe a couple of sleet pellets. Temperatures should be above freezing here locally as the rain moves in early in the evening hours. Now, as we head into the overnight, this is when things become a little more interesting off to our east as the rain continues to push in and a warm nose aloft meets up with air that may just be below freezing down at the ground. We might have some freezing rain, primarily eastern Mercer County on east into central PA. We'll talk a little bit more about the icing in just a second, but yeah, it's going to be a soggy night tomorrow night, a soggy start to the day Sunday. Now, I do think that a dry slot's going to work in right around lunchtime on Sunday. The sun's going to try to break out, especially south and west of Youngstown, and it'll be halfway decent outside. Temperatures around 50 Sunday afternoon, but then underneath the upper level low, moisture wraps back in, rain showers around Sunday night, and into Monday morning could be a couple of snow showers around. I think temperatures Monday will probably fall after a morning high in the mid-30s. We'll probably spend the afternoon closer to freezing on Monday. All right, as far as the chance of impactful ice, I'm not real concerned here locally. And even in eastern Mercer County, a tenth of an inch of freezing rain or ice accretion is not going to cause a lot of problems. But the farther east you go, if anybody is planning tomorrow night into Sunday morning, heading across 80, out past 79, and especially out closer to Du Bois along 80 as you get up into the higher terrain, very tricky travel could be a possibility. Of course, not just on I-80, but on local streets as well. But the main thoroughfare, of course, through here is I-80. And if you've ever traveled east into central PA, you know it's very, very hilly terrain and especially susceptible to some freezing rain problems. The snow side of this will be well off to our east and to our northeast. There'll be a pretty good helping of snow, I think, from the Poconos up into the Catskills, up into the Berkshires, and Western Mass. Even as far east as Boston, they're going to do pretty well. And then back towards the Finger Lakes and up into Rochester, Syracuse. I think a pretty decent amount of snow is going to head their way this weekend. So we're going to see a lot of upgrades here, I suspect, from winter storm watches and winter weather advisories up to winter storm warnings for parts of New England. The winter storm watches extend just off to our east, and this is because of the freezing rain back here. It's not snow back here, but freezing rain possibilities. Indiana, Pennsylvania, Johnstown, PA, Altoona State College, and up towards Bradford and Du Bois, Clarion, and Clearfield. All right, Pittsburgh Sunday afternoon. Of course, the Browns are taking on the Steelers. Very, very important AFC North matchup for both teams. And I think that dry slot's going to work in the afternoon. It's going to be soggy in the morning, much like it will be in our area, but the afternoon halfway decent, lower 50s, a little bit of a breeze, and largely dry. I can't rule out a shower, especially towards the fourth quarter and especially after the game, but I think we're largely dry in the afternoon. If you've been watching these videos lately, I've been talking about how December doesn't look too cold. Cold first week of the month, yes. We're going to spend a lot of time in the 30s next week. But yeah, no Arctic air on the playing field here in the 8 to 14 day outlook. Kind of a Pacific regime. In other words, our air will be originating out here instead of up here. And so it's the kind of pattern that not only locally but across a lot of the lower 48 is going to produce some relatively mild weather. Now it's December, it's not going to be 75, but compared to the average, yes, a relatively mild period, I think, for mid-December. All right, thanks for watching the Friday night edition of Weather for Weather Geeks. Have a great weekend, everyone. I will see you back here on Monday.